Have you ever looked into the eyes of someone you love, a father, a grandmother, a lifelong friend, and thought, they're okay, just a bit tired today, a little slower than they used to be. Maybe they forgot where they left their keys again. Maybe they skipped lunch. Maybe they needed the wall to steady themselves when walking down the hallway. And maybe, like so many of us, you brushed it off. Life is busy, schedules fill up. Days pass like pages in a calendar, flip too fast. And besides, isn't that just what aging looks like? But what if I told you something that might change how you see those little things? That quiet tiredness, that forgotten name, that one skipped breakfast that turned into 3. What if those weren't just the marks of time, but gentle warning bells, whispers, soft but urgent? The body's way of saying, please pay attention, because here's something few people realize. After the age of 75, nearly 99% of all deaths come from just 5 causes. Not dozens, not even 10. Just 5. 5 culprits hiding in plain sight. And here's the truly heartbreaking part. Most people don't recognize the signs until it's too late. Not because they don't care, but because the signs look so much like ordinary aging. That's why we're here today. Not to scare you, not to overwhelm you, but to open your eyes with love, with clarity, and with purpose. This is not about counting down days. This is about adding meaning to the ones that remain. It's about understanding what's happening beneath the surface, so you can protect those you love, and maybe even yourself. Because aging is not a slow fade to gray, it is a new chapter. And how that chapter unfolds, whether it's written in pain or in peace, depends on what you do right now. I want you to imagine this with me. You're standing at the edge of a quiet lake. The water's still, calm, but beneath the surface, subtle ripples begin. Almost invisible, but if left unnoticed, they grow and grow until the whole lake begins to churn. That's what these 5 hidden causes do. They start small, they seem harmless, but over time they take more than just strength. They take independence, identity, joy. And here's the good news. You don't need to be a doctor to spot them. You just need to see a little deeper. So if you've ever watched a loved one change and wondered, is this just age? This video is for you. If you felt the subtle changes in your own body, your energy, your memory, your balance, this video is for you. If you believe that knowledge is love in action, that knowing more can help you live better, longer, and fuller, then stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through these 5 quiet forces that account for nearly every loss after 75. I'll show you what they look like, not in medical charts, but in real life. And most importantly, I'll show you what you can do today, right now, to stop them before they steal what matters most. You might be surprised. Some of these causes don't look like health problems at all. One of them, in fact, hides in plain sight. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't swell, but it drains the life out of people. Slowly, silently, so take a breath. This isn't about fear, it's about empowerment. If you're ready to protect your future, or the future of someone you love, type "I'm here" in the comments below. Let others know you're showing up for this, for them, for yourself. And don't forget to subscribe to Elder Wisdom and Strength, where each week we share real tools, heartfelt stories, and compassionate advice for living with strength, purpose, and peace of mind at every age. Now let's begin. Let's start with the one enemy we've all heard of, but too often underestimate, the silent strain that can steal vitality day by day. Let's talk about the heart. Let me tell you about Henry. He was 78, the kind of man the whole neighborhood knew, not because he was loud, but because he was present. Every morning just after dawn, there he was. Same cap, same smile, same gentle wave as he passed each mailbox on his walk. He didn't miss a morning, not for rain, not for cold. The rhythm of his footsteps was as steady as his spirit, but then the rhythm changed. One day, no Henry, then another. Someone finally asked, and he shrugged it off. Just a little tired lately, nothing serious. And we believed him, because tiredness sounds harmless. Because we don't expect the heart to whisper, we expect it to shout. But 6 months later, Henry was in the hospital. His heart hadn't stopped suddenly. It had been struggling quietly, day by day for years. His morning walks, they weren't just exercise, they were the first thing his heart gave up on. The body knows long before we do. This is how cardiovascular disease often shows up after 75. Not as a dramatic heart attack in the middle of the night, but as a steady retreat from hobbies, from energy, from life itself. The heart doesn't always scream. Sometimes it simply grows tired. As we age, our arteries become less flexible, like garden hoses that stiffen in the sun. The heart has to pump harder to push blood through. Blood pressure rises silently. Cholesterol begins to build, narrowing the very pathways that keep us alive. And yet we say, he's just slowing down. We say, she's not as energetic these days. But what if those phrases are just labels we use to cover up what we don't want to see? Because that breathlessness after climbing 2 stairs, that dull ache in the chest you dismiss as gas, that dizzy moment you chalk up to getting up too fast, those are not just signs of aging. They are the body calling out, not with sirens, but with soft signals we often ignore. And the greatest mistake? We wait for the big emergency before we act. But the danger lives in the quiet drift. So what can you do? Start small. Start now. Get regular checkups. Know your blood pressure. Know your cholesterol. Don't wait until something breaks. Your heart doesn't need a treadmill. It needs attention. 20 minutes of walking a day, just 20, is more powerful than you think. It wakes the heart up. It strengthens the rhythm of life. Add foods that feed the heart. Oats to clear the pathways. Berries to calm inflammation. Leafy greens to keep the blood flowing freely. Let your meals be medicine. And if you're watching this for someone else, someone you love over 75, look closer. Have they stopped gardening? Do they nap more than they used to? Are they skipping walks? Are they avoiding conversations? These aren't just changes. They're clues. Ask gently, how have you been feeling lately? Really? And then listen, not just to the words, but to the pauses in between, to what's missing from their routine. Because the heart doesn't always fail with noise. Sometimes it slips away silently. But silence doesn't mean safety. It just means we have to listen harder. The earlier you notice, the more power you have to change the story. Don't wait for the siren. Catch the whisper. Because the heart, just like Henry's, deserves a chance to keep walking, to keep waving, to keep showing up at sunrise. But this silent threat isn't the only one hiding behind the face of normal aging. There's another force, more subtle, more devastating. It doesn't attack the body first. It goes after who we are. Let's talk about what happens when the mind begins to fade. Quietly, steadily, like a photograph left too long in the sun. Let's talk about memory. Her name was Martha. She was 80 and everything about her felt like home. She baked the world's best apple pie. She never missed a birthday, especially her grandson's. And she had that sparkle, the kind you can still see in old photo albums. But then, she forgot where she left her keys. Then it happened again. And again. The family laughed. Grandma's just having a senior moment, they said. But one day she looked her grandson in the face and didn't know his name. And that's when the laughter stopped. The doctor called it Alzheimer's. But long before the diagnosis, the signs had started. They just hadn't known what to look for. You see, neurodegenerative diseases, like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, don't burst through the door. They sneak in, soft-footed, quiet, like a fog rolling in over a familiar landscape. Until one day, nothing looks quite the same. After 75, your risk of developing these diseases doubles every 5 years. And yet we still think of forgetfulness as just a part of getting older. But this isn't just about forgetting where you put your glasses. This is about the slow unraveling of identity. Inside the brain, abnormal proteins begin to gather, like tiny knots in the fabric of memory. They block the messages that keep us thinking, speaking, remembering. Eventually, they tangle so tightly that even the strongest parts begin to fade. And Alzheimer's doesn't come alone. There's Parkinson's too. It doesn't always begin with shaking hands. Sometimes it starts with stiffness, a hesitation when walking, A quiet shuffle that turns into a dangerous stumble. The saddest part? By the time we recognize the signs, precious time is already gone. And the misunderstanding? We think dementia is all about memory, but sometimes the first sign isn't forgetfulness, it's silence. A once outgoing mother no longer answers calls. A sharp-minded father suddenly gives away large sums of money. A cheerful grandmother becomes distant, irritable, not herself. These aren't quirks. These are flags. The brain is changing, slowly losing its ability to connect not just thoughts, but people, places, feelings. And yet, there is hope. Because while we don't yet have a cure, we do have tools. And the earlier we use them, the longer we can hold on. Start by feeding the brain what it needs. A Mediterranean-style diet: fruits, leafy greens, fatty fish, olive oil, nuts. Not just food for the body, but fuel for memory, for clarity. Exercise the mind daily. Puzzles, reading, playing a new card game. Even switching up a daily routine can light up dormant circuits in the brain. And never underestimate sleep. Deep, restorative sleep is like housekeeping for the brain. It clears away the waste, including the very proteins linked to Alzheimer's. Missing sleep doesn't just leave you tired, it leaves your brain vulnerable. And perhaps the most powerful tool of all? Connection, conversation, eye contact, a laugh over coffee. The brain doesn't thrive in isolation, it thrives in shared experience. So if you've noticed changes in someone you love, don't chalk it up to age. Don't wait until the fog thickens. Ask gently. Have the conversation. Because a few months of awareness could mean years of clarity. And if you're noticing these signs in yourself, you are not alone. You are not broken. You are worthy of care, of action, of hope. Martha's story is painful, yes, but it's also a reminder that behind every missed name, every repeated question, is a chance to hold on tighter, to act sooner, to love smarter. But while the mind shapes who we are, there's another threat that shows up not over months, but in a matter of seconds. One misstep, one fall, one moment that changes everything. Let's talk about what happens when the body loses its balance, and how that too can become a matter of life or death. His name was Robert, 82 years old, lived alone, still sharp, still proud. The kind of man who fixed his own porch light, remembered every birthday, and insisted on cooking his own breakfast. 2 eggs every morning. But then one day, everything changed. He slipped, in the bathroom, just once. One foot missed the mat, and in a blink, he was on the floor, unable to move. A fractured hip, one fall, and nothing was ever the same. He tried to recover. Physical therapy, a walker, medications. But his world had already shrunk. No more walks to the mailbox. No more breakfast at the kitchen counter. He began skipping meals, sleeping more, talking less. And before anyone realized, it wasn't just his body that had weakened, it was his will. That's the cruel truth about falls after 75. They don't just break bones, they break momentum. They steal confidence. And far too often, they start a chain reaction that ends in a hospital bed, or worse. Here's what many people don't realize. Falls are the 3rd leading cause of death in seniors over 75. And they're almost never random. They are not bad luck. They are signals, signs that something deeper is going on. As we age, bones lose density, muscles thin, reflexes slow. Even getting up too quickly can turn the world sideways. But there's more. Sometimes it's the medication that causes dizziness. Sometimes it's a slippery floor, or a loose rug, or a hallway that's just a little too dark at night. What looks like a freak accident is often entirely preventable. And that's the good news. You have more power than you think. Start by looking at the environment. Is there a grab bar near the toilet? A non-slip mat in the shower? Are hallways and staircases well lit, even at 2 a.m.? Small changes can mean the difference between a safe night and an emergency call. Next, look at the body. Balance isn't just something we're born with, it's something we can train. Gentle exercises like Tai Chi or chair yoga aren't just peaceful, they're protective. They teach your body how to react, how to stay upright, how to recover from a stumble before it becomes a fall. And don't forget to check your medications. Even a common blood pressure pill can make you lightheaded. Ask your doctor or pharmacist to review your prescriptions. Ask, could any of these affect my balance? But above all, don't wait. Don't wait for that first fall. Don't wait until the walker becomes necessary. Act before the slip, not after the bruise. Because one fall can take away more than mobility. It can take away independence. It can take away the freedom to move, to visit, to live with confidence. And here's the hardest part. Most people don't talk about it. They feel embarrassed. They don't want to seem weak. But there is nothing weak about protecting your life. There is nothing weak about asking for support. There is strength in prevention. So ask yourself, or someone you love, have you felt unsteady lately? Are you holding on to furniture when you walk across the room? Do you avoid stairs? If the answer is yes, even once, it's time to act. Because staying upright isn't just about balance, it's about freedom. It's about staying in your home. It's about keeping the life you've built. But while falls can take you down in seconds, another threat moves more slowly, quietly from inside. It starts with a cough, a sniffle, a little fatigue that lingers too long. And before you know it, you're struggling to breathe. Let's talk about the fourth silent danger and why infections after 75 are anything but minor. It started with a cough. Eleanor, 79, thought nothing of it, just a tickle in the throat, a little fatigue. She stayed in bed, sipped warm tea, and told her daughter over the phone, "I'm fine. Just a small cold." But by the end of the week, she was gasping for breath. An ambulance was called. The diagnosis, pneumonia. She never saw it coming, and she's far from alone. After age 75, respiratory infections, like pneumonia, RSV, or even the common flu, can become life-threatening within days. Why? Because the older we get, the more the body changes. Quietly. The lungs, once elastic and strong, lose their stretch. Tiny airways stiffen. Mucus clears more slowly. The immune system weakens, like a tired soldier that's been standing guard for too long. In someone younger, a cough is annoying. In someone over 75, it can be the start of a medical spiral. And here's the most dangerous belief. It's just a cold. There's no such thing as just anything at this stage of life. A low-grade fever, a bit of chest tightness, a persistent sense of fatigue. These may seem minor, but they often signal something much deeper, especially when layered on top of other conditions. Heart disease, diabetes, COPD. When infection enters a body already fighting its own battles, the risk multiplies. And many times the real warning signs don't look like we expect. They look like skipping meals, like sleeping all day, like sudden confusion or shortness of breath while getting dressed. Infections don't always roar. Sometimes they creep, but you're not helpless. There are real, powerful steps you can take right now to protect yourself or the people you love. First, vaccines. This is not just a children's conversation anymore. Get your annual flu shot. Talk to your doctor about the pneumonia vaccine. There are two types and both matter. And don't ignore RSV, a virus that was once overlooked in adults, but is now recognized as a serious risk for older lungs. Vaccines aren't just protection, they're prevention. They give your body a head start in a race you don't want to lose. Second, hygiene matters. It sounds simple, because it is, but it's powerful. Regular hand washing, wiping down shared surfaces, avoiding crowded spaces during flu season. If a friend or grandchild is sick, it's okay to say, "Let's wait a few days." That's not rudeness, that's wisdom. Third, your home environment. Is the air clean? Dry air weakens the throat's defense barrier, making it easier for viruses to take hold. Open windows when the weather allows. Use a humidifier in dry seasons. Consider an air purifier if air quality is poor. And finally, listen to your body, to your instincts. If something lingers, don't wait. If a cough won't quit, if a fever won't fall, if you feel off, call your doctor. Early treatment saves lives because infections move fast. And once they take hold in an aging body, recovery isn't just harder, it's riskier. There is no shame in being cautious. There is only strength in being proactive. Eleanor's cough didn't seem serious until it was. Let her story be a reminder that every sniffle deserves attention. Every day of unexplained fatigue deserves a second look, and that protecting your health in these years isn't paranoia, it's preparation. But while infection can take your breath away, there's something else. Quieter, softer, yet just as dangerous. It doesn't live in the lungs. It doesn't show up on scans, but it weakens everything, not the body, but the spirit. Let's talk about the most invisible cause of all, the one that hides in empty rooms and unanswered phones. Let's talk about loneliness. Her name was Mary. She was 85, and in many ways, still the same woman she had always been. She wore her favorite brooch every Sunday. She made a perfect cup of tea. She loved jazz, crossword puzzles, and the sound of laughter from the next room. But the rooms got quieter. Her children moved out of state. Her friends one by one stopped calling, or simply weren't around to call anymore. At first it was subtle. She stopped going to church. Then she stopped watering her plants. Then, some days she didn't speak to another human being at all. Her health declined, but not from a disease the doctors could point to. Not from cancer, not from a heart condition. What was killing Mary was loneliness, and she is not alone. We often imagine aging as peaceful, a time to slow down, to rest. But isolation isn't peace. It's an invisible illness, and it's one of the deadliest threats to older adults. Social isolation increases the risk of heart disease by nearly 30%. It raises the likelihood of stroke by over 30%, and it accelerates cognitive decline at a staggering rate. How? Because the body and the mind are not separate machines. They are deeply biologically connected. And when the heart feels alone, the body follows. The appetite fades. Sleep becomes shallow. The immune system weakens. Wounds, physical and emotional, heal more slowly. And soon the spark of purpose begins to dim. But the most dangerous part? Most people don't see it coming. They say, she just wants to be alone. He's just getting older. But we don't outgrow the need for connection. We don't age out of companionship. Humans are wired for touch, for voice, for shared silence and shared joy. And when that disappears, it doesn't just hurt, it erodes. Sometimes depression in seniors doesn't look like sadness. It looks like skipped meals, like unopened curtains, like silence where there once was music, like I'm fine and when you know they're not. So what can you do? Start small, call, check in. Just 5 minutes makes a difference. Send a photo, a letter, a memory. Set up a weekly video chat or meal. Encourage them to join a local group, a book club, a church circle, a senior center. Even better, offer to go with them. Invite the grandkids, the neighbor, the old friend. Create moments that matter, not just holidays, but Tuesdays and Thursdays too. And if you're the one feeling alone right now, please hear this. You are not a burden, you are not forgotten. You are a human being, worthy of attention, of love, of being seen. Reach out. Say, I'd love some company. Say, would you come by for tea? Say, I miss someone to talk to. Because asking for connection is not weakness, it's strength. And connection isn't just emotional, it's medicinal. Studies show that even small doses of meaningful interaction can improve heart health, lower blood pressure, and increase lifespan. Loneliness doesn't announce itself loudly. It creeps in through empty chairs, through unanswered phones, through a calendar with too many blank days. But it doesn't have to stay, because the antidote is within reach for all of us. You can be the call that matters, the visit that saves a life, the reminder that someone still cares. And now that we've uncovered the fifth and final force, the one that breaks the spirit, we come full circle. Because aging isn't just about what fades, it's about what can still grow. Connection, purpose, joy. Let's take a moment to gently reflect. You now know the 5 causes behind nearly 99% of deaths after 75. But more importantly, you now know what to look for. You now know what to do. Let's go over it one last time, because this knowledge may save a life. Take a breath with me, because we've just traveled through something big. 5 silent forces that shape the final chapters of life, and now we know their names. Let's gently look back, together. First, the heart. So often it doesn't cry out, it simply grows tired. The skipped walk, the shorter breath, the quiet ache. These are not just signs of aging, they are whispers asking for care. Then, the mind, memory slipping through the fingers like sand. Moments once vivid, now blurred. But even when the words fade, the person is still there. And the earlier we notice, the longer we can hold on. Third, mobility, the fall that changes everything. Not because of broken bones alone, but because of what's lost afterward. Confidence, independence, joy. And yet most falls can be prevented with attention, with preparation, with love. Fourth, infection, a cough, a little fever. Nothing serious until it is. Older lungs don't bounce back, but with vaccines, clean air, and quick action, we can protect what breathes life into every day. And finally, loneliness, the quietest danger of them all. It doesn't show up on a scan, but it can be felt in the body, in skipped meals, in forgotten voices, in long, empty afternoons. Connection isn't a luxury, it's survival. These 5, they are not just facts, they are real stories, real people. Maybe even someone you love, maybe even you. So now that you know, what will you do? Because knowing changes everything. It gives us the power to interrupt decline, to speak up, to check in, to act before the damage is done. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You don't need to memorize medical journals. You just need to begin. Begin by asking that quiet question. How have you really been feeling lately? Begin by noticing the skipped routines, the empty chairs, the breath that comes too late. And most importantly, begin with compassion. Because these aren't just health issues. They are human experiences, and none of us are meant to face them alone. So let me ask you this. Which of these 5 surprised you the most? Have you seen it happen in a parent, a friend, a neighbor, maybe even in yourself? Take a moment to share your story in the comments. I read every one, and your experience might be the very thing someone else needs to hear tonight, to feel less alone, to feel seen, to feel inspired to act. And if this video gave you something to think about, if it helped you understand yourself or a loved one a little better, if it reminded you of what truly matters in these later years, please give it a like and subscribe to Elder Wisdom and Strength, where every week we share not just tips, but truths, stories with heart, guidance with compassion, and wisdom to help every one of us age with dignity, clarity, and strength. Because aging doesn't come with a manual, but together we can build something better. Thank you for spending this time with me. Before we go, remember this: take care of your heart, keep your mind curious, stay steady on your feet, watch out for those quiet illnesses, and never underestimate the healing power of human connection. You're not alone. You're part of something real, something wise, something that matters. Stay strong, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.